Hey guys, what is going on? This is Wrestlelamia, back with another episode. It's a big night for Smackdown, as not only is it the go-home show for Money in the Bank, but it's the first time fans have watched the blue brand in person for over a year. What surprises will the WWE have in store for this big event? Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at the 16th July edition of Smackdown, as well as the wildest wrestling news and rumors you need to know, including WWE's big plans for the return of fans. Are the NXT call-ups a bad sign? The WWE's backup plan for Rock vs. Roman, and more. As always, Wrestlelamia won't recap the show, but provide you with the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. The good. The return of fans. At long last, fans. There's nothing like watching a wrestling show live, and there's nothing like having an arena full of fans screaming as they see their favorites performing in the ring. Wrestling is a symbiotic experience where wrestlers feed off the fans' reactions, and the fans can make the show even more exciting. It's been far too long since the WWE Universe has had a chance to watch shows in person or watch them with a capacity crowd on hand to enhance things. It's clear the WWE Universe and the WWE superstars are ready to do their parts, but now it's up to WWE's creative to craft some compelling stories and matches. Mr. McMahon cameo. He might be trapped in the past when it comes to booking shows, but Mr. McMahon still draws one hella pop when he walks out, and tonight was no different. It wouldn't be the return of fans without Vinnie Mac making an appearance, and he did just that, popping in and asking the fans, "Where the hell have you been?" before making a quick exit. A stunning start. Want to get the fans pumped up for the first live Smackdown in over a year? How about a six-man tag between the team of Edge and the Mysterios and the team of Roman Reigns and the Usos? WWE didn't waste any time with a long opening promo, instead going with what the fans came to see, action-packed matches featuring some of the WWE's top stars. This was a fantastic opener and the perfect way to kick off the show. Balor is back. Finn Balor's appearance on SmackDown was a big surprise and a good way to pop the audience. Balor, who has been busy on NXT for much of the last 2 years, delivered a much-deserved beating to Sami Zayn, teasing the two may be wrestling each other soon. Although Balor is no longer a main eventer, he's still a darling of the fans, and his appearance was a good way to pop the crowd. As Wrestlelamia has been reporting the last few weeks, the WWE wants to pump up the WWE Universe with some big matches, debuts, and returns as it returns to live events. For those wondering why John Cena wasn't there, count on him showing up next week on SmackDown after Money in the Bank, when his appearance will mean more, especially if the WWE runs the much-discussed Cena vs. Roman Reigns match at SummerSlam. Corbin's crowdsourcing. It's good to be the king, but what happens when you lose your crown? Apparently things go into the trash heap, as Baron Corbin is so hard up he's now set up a crowdsourcing page to help him keep his home. Corbin is such an arrogant heel that it's great to see him down on his luck and appealing to the same fans he's berated week in and week out. It goes without saying that the crowdsourcing page is a work, unlike some news sites. Wrestlelamia knows its viewers are smart enough to know that, and it also goes without saying that this storyline has promise. Will this lead to the rumored happy Baron Corbin character or something else? Whatever the case, Wrestlelamia is confident Corbin will handle it well. Building storylines. SmackDown continued its practice of building storylines, whether main event matchups or undercard features. The WWE laid the groundwork for what looks like programs between Cesaro and the Alpha Academy, as well as Finn Balor and Sami Zayn. It also teased the Seth Rollins vs. Edge program while getting the fans ready for this Sunday's pay-per-view, upping the heat for Edge vs. Roman Reigns, the Money in the Bank ladder match, and adding a SmackDown Tag Team Championship defense. An epic ending Fatal 4-Way. Tonight's Fatal 4-Way was an epic ending for what was a fantastic show, with Seth Rollins defeating Big E, King Nakamura, and Kevin Owens in an exciting match that gave fans an idea of what to expect in the men's ladder match at Money in the Bank. Somehow, all four superstars managed to top the opening six-man tag match, closing the show out on a high note. The bad. Be fair to Belair. What happens when you're the SmackDown Women's Champion and there's no viable opponents to defend the belt against? If you're Bianca Belair, you make the best of a bad situation and defend against whomever the WWE throws in the ring, in this case, Carmella, an average wrestler whose rumored popularity with management is why she continues to get title opportunities despite a lack of any significant wrestling ability. The fans know that the SmackDown women's division lacks talent, something Bayley's injury exposed. The problem here is that Belair's title reign is going to be judged based on what looks to be a short list of average opponents. Hopefully, the WWE won't blame Belair's situation on her rather than the bookers, but knowing WWE, they'll see her situation and find a way to blame her for the lack of exciting opponents. Nox and Blackheart versus Natalya and Tamina again? Last week's SmackDown saw the debut of Shotzi and Nox, as well as their surprise win over women's tag team champions Natalya and Tamina, a stunning upset that showed these newcomers have much to offer in the ring. However, why did WWE put the two teams into another match so quickly? Did they think the match was so good that it deserved a rematch with fans present? Did the WWE realize it has no tag teams to challenge Natalya and Tamina now that Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose are split up? Who knows? And by this point, does anyone care? The Downright Ugly. Tonight's show, despite one or two missteps, was well booked, providing fans both at home and in the crowd with thrilling matches, a surprise return, and a number of segments that forwarded storylines. Once again, SmackDown showcased how to get more than the main eventers over, with the undercard getting time and the WWE balancing it all well into a 2-hour show. SmackDown show just the beginning. Our top story deals with the return of live fans and the WWE getting ready to unveil some big plans. Tonight's SmackDown was a fantastic show, and from the rumors Wrestlelamia is hearing, it's only the start, as Vince McMahon wants to get fans back in the arenas and tuning into the WWE's weekly television. According to a report from Ringside News, the WWE held an important meeting with staffers recently, revealing it is reinstating raises and promotions and that the WWE will soon have souped-up rosters. The report also indicated WWE employees were told to make their best pitches over this period because WWE wants to present the best product possible as live fans returns. While this wasn't mentioned in the report, don't be surprised if NXT sees some call-ups as well, as the Black and Gold brand may need to replenish its roster depending on how many superstars leave for Raw and SmackDown. NXT call-ups a reflection of Vince McMahon panicking? On a more disturbing note, it looks like Vince McMahon may be panicking a bit thanks to the lower-than-expected ticket sales for some events, including its upcoming Madison Square Garden show. Dave Meltzer commented on the situation in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, pointing out that when business is slow, McMahon's policy is to start bringing in new characters with pushes right out of the gate with the feeling the upper card needs a freshening up. No matter what the company said publicly, when I saw those advances for the house shows, I knew Vince would be making a move. One person close to the situation noted exactly that. When the advances came in, Vince assessed it by saying there was nobody new, fresh, or exciting on the roster, and that's when he went to NXT with the idea of freshening up the roster with new faces who would be pushed hard right out of the box, or until he gives up on some of them quickly. While Wrestlelamia would like to think that this isn't going to happen, the reality is that Vince McMahon never seems to blame the writing for the shows being stale, instead blaming the wrestlers and thinking an infusion of new talent will help. The problem is that it typically doesn't because the new talent is as mishandled as the existing talent. Diamond Dave also noted that the WWE is charging very high prices for tickets to the MSG show, which could partially explain the slow sales. WWE preparing backup plan for Rock vs. Roman at Mania? It's well known that the WWE wants to book a dream match between The Rock and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, but it's also well known that The Rock's Hollywood shooting schedule makes it difficult to get him into a match, especially if there's any chance of him being injured before a film shoot. With that in mind, WWE may have found a compromise, at least according to Dave Meltzer, who reported in this week's Observer that one idea that has been talked about as the goal is Reigns and Rock in Dallas for the 2022 Mania is that if concessions have to be made regarding Rock in movies and injury fears, that they do Reigns and an Uso versus Rock and an Uso, so Rock can be protected from doing too much and it keeps it all in the family, with the idea and Rock and Reigns as to who is really the tribal chief. Obviously, the singles match is the preferred match, but any involvement of Rock is preferred over him not doing the show. A tag team match could also hide any ring rust The Rock has, something which seems all but guaranteed since his last match was at WrestleMania 29, unless you want to count his WrestleMania 32 blink and you'll miss it bout against Eric Rowan. Do you think The Rock should return to wrestling? Let us know in the comments below. Davey Boy Smith Jr. back in WWE. Former WWE superstar Davey Boy Smith Jr., aka Harry Smith, is back in the WWE. Wrestling News' Andrew Ravens is reporting Smith teamed with Austin Theory in a dark match before Smackdown, defeating the team of Odyssey Jones and Zion Quinn. PW Insider is reporting that Smith may have signed as far back as last March, but the WWE has waited to debut him. You'll likely recall Smith worked in the WWE from 2006 to 2011, teaming with Tyson Kidd in the Hart Dynasty and capturing both the WWE Tag Team Championship and the World Tag Team Championship. Strowman looking better than ever. Last but not least, it's unknown what the future holds for recently released WWE superstar Braun Strowman, but wrestling's monster among men continues to work on his physique. Big Braun recently shared a photo of him showing off his chiseled physique, pointing out that he's now a slim and trim 360 pounds. Well guys, there you have it, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly from the 16th July Smackdown, along with the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know in wrestling. Be sure to leave your comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time for some more wrestling content.